waiting room or over at a picnic table, and they're like, what are they talking about? And I'm just like, I am learning about Medicare like never before. I've listened to people talk about it, but now I'm there. On the 19th of this month, it's 3 months until I turn 65. So I get this 3 months and then this other 3 months for me to enroll for the first time. I'm learning about Medicare Advantage. I'm learning what other people's experiences are, their opinions. And I'm just like all about it. So it's not re-enrollment for me, but it's the initial enrollment. So I'm just like, woo, Medicare, baby. Figure this out. Israel, and you know what, Donald, did you say that you are good with going by Raven?
Yes, Raven is. Call me anything. I don't care.
Okay, good.
Raven or Don
I will
is
call
fine.
you Dapper. Because,
Yeah.
man, the
Yeah.
tie. I think this is the first tie. And I'm over 100 episodes, and I usually have more than one person. So this may be the first tie. Are you just
take it off.
showing up, or are you headed to something?
No, so this is basically my workwear every day. So in the building that I work in, I am in a lot of meetings throughout the day, and it's hard to kind of predict what each person is going to be wearing. So I just wear a suit and tie all the time, and it just kind of coincides with everybody because I'm constantly meeting different people 1,000 times throughout the day. So just makes it easier.
I imagine that it's like, well, I know that I won't walk in on someone who's going, I thought I was going to talk to, a person, the expectations, the stigmas, the assumptions. It's like, I wanted to talk to someone at this level, like they talk about C-suite, things like that. You look more like, well, it was fun to show up to work today, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I want to make sure that I'm letting them know I came here on purpose and I have a purpose.
Exactly. I do occasionally wear a martial arts uniform, depending on who I'm talking to. Yeah. So, but right now I'm at work. I just got out of meetings. I'm going into meetings after I finish here. So it just makes it so much easier. So much easier.
Thank you, all four of you, for just going, I'm going to open up this spot this hour. JJ found out that she was jumping in. My goodness. All righty. I'm going to go to Minnie. And anyone who's watching this in replay is like, which one's Minnie? So Minnie, I'm going to actually open it up. I talked to you just before we went live. And I'm wondering, Remembrance Day in Canada, is it one of those situations where my paper calendar sticks it on there because they've been sticking it on there for decades upon decades? I have heard from people who live in Mexico who just go, Cinco de Mayo for our region or our culture, our family group is not as big of a deal as some of these other days, but they stick it on the American calendars because who knows? It's a hallmark moment, or, gets you to go eat out Mexican food more, or something like that. Is Remembrance Day something where everyone kind of stops and goes, it's Remembrance Day?
Yes, it's very important and crucial. And if I see at my current workplace also, like it's for veterans. We are trying to recognize those veterans who lost their lives and their families. And I personally feel this is very important to at least this important day should be recognized, and people should should feel about it, because losing your family for the country, and in the world war, that was first world war as I know. So those veterans, those families, those people should be recognized and remember. It creates a bond, it creates a feeling of nationalism, which is very, very, very important. if you see that I landed Canada like not no, like 1.5 year before only, but I know the significance of it because I'm working at workplace where I see people, and when you land to a country, you don't just land like that, right? You know that you are going there to make your future, so you should know about it. So when I landed, I tried to research about it, what's going on and what's there, how people feel about it, and that's very important. And I'm a I'm an emotional person, and I feel that emotions have a huge place, and that's what is like I want to do in future, mental health and emotions. So if you see this day, I see that a lot of emotions are involved. People feel, I see the symbol of poppies on at my workplace. I have to go in evening, so people like put those poppies as a symbol on their outerwear or something, so to show that respect. And I feel that these emotions should be respected. Yeah, it's very good.
I'm so glad to hear all that. I mean, when you say mental health and you're talking about veterans and families of veterans and that that all goes together for the betterment of humankind, recognizing, not feeling like what's wrong with me, that I have responses to what I did, what I saw, who I'm missing, who came back a different person.
Yeah.
JJ, are you feeling the segue? Yes. I would love for you to make sure this announcement happens now at 7 minutes into the hour, as well as toward the end. Um, you and I've seen confessions of a reluctant caregiver where all three sisters were on the screen together. Oftentimes it's two sisters. You are always there? Have you guys done solos or just always you?
I am normally always there, and Natalie is always there. If she were here, I'm the pitch hitter, is what she says. She actually had to get on the road to DC, so I got the 30-minute call prior. But she and I are almost always there. I'm the oldest. That's what she would share with you guys, and she's the middle. We have the youngest sister, but because of work conflicts, she comes in and out of the picture a lot. So, but she's the tallest. You'll know her. She's another redhead.
I did notice that because you guys were getting glamour poses and stuff. And I'm just like, JJ is just fine. Her head is above the floor. She's fine. But then you have those others. One day we were pushing strollers and I looked around me with these friends. We were all pushing strollers and I'm like, I'm short. I didn't know I was short. All these 5'9", 5'10" women.
That's right.
But again, it's the comparison. So why did I say PBS before we went live? What's happening there, and why does today take on yet another significance besides Remembrance Day in Canada and Veterans Day in the US, which now I just know so much more. Thank you so much, Minnie. JJ, what's that other significance this evening?
Well, I will share that last year, we started our podcast in 23 and we were just talking to caregivers. That was always our goal, share your story. And that's always been the goal of the podcast, regardless of what it is. We're always relate, educate, inspire, and there's a lot of laughter there because caregiving is hard, and we all know that. Last November, we started a series called Heroes Caring for Heroes. And our heroes are definitely our military personnel, both active duty and our veterans. But what we dug into last year was let's talk to the caregivers of these military personnel, because there are so many that have both seen and unseen scars of military life, PTSD, TBIs, things like that. And it's hard for citizens, civilians, to see a lot of that. And your caregiver has to deal with that a lot of the times. This year, we decided to repeat that series because it really was so impactful for Natalie and I. We have miscellaneous people in our family that were part of the military. My dad wasn't. I had a couple of uncles, but it really wasn't a huge part of our life. So the learning about the military and the organizations that support, that was really important for us to share. But this year we took it another step and said, you know what, we want to talk to both the caregiver, but we also want to see how they relate to that family member. We partnered up with PBS Appalachia. They produced a 1-hour special for us. We have the podcast series, and those guests, our caregivers, are part of the 5-week podcast series that started on the 29th of October. But we worked with CVS Health, the pharmacy, Tenna Brands, and Care Forward. And I got to give kudos to these guys, Forge Health and Tactical Recovery. And they brought all of those guests and their loved ones to DC, and we filmed a program that shares their stories. And it's a lot different than just hearing it. It's seeing them interact and talk about both their accidents and the health issues they have, but just seeing that the love and the care and why both of them are really heroes. So tonight at 7:00 is when it premieres. It can be found on your local PBS station, but you can also find it on pbs.org or on the PBS app, and it should be playing all the way through January.
Wow.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a lot. Wow. Thank you.
Wow. People who run toward a crisis instead of going, oh, no, I can't handle it, which is maybe a more prevalent reaction of there's something terrible going on. The person who runs toward an accident, toward a conflict, who runs toward the sound of someone in trouble, they're going to be fully involved. If they are injured, if they are, I'll just leave it with, if it's going to impact them, period. So you and your sister, along with those who were caring about a person in military and now are providing assistance and empathy and making way for independence, all of that, those people are running toward a crisis, a person crying out for help, a person who maybe hasn't asked for help, and they're digging and touching on sensitivity, and maybe there's just a lot there. And I champion all that.
Thank you
so much. I'm so glad that it's getting national attention, because just to say words is one thing, but to hear someone speak about it, it's like, okay, now this is inside of me and it's become important to me. Israel, I saw you in a comment. It was just a couple days ago. And I just went, you have lots. This is very professional. You got lots to do. I mean, you have, your hand is in many different situations, and you're taking leadership in those situations. You are, you're an interim president. That's, somebody trusts you to keep the whole boat afloat until whoever is going to be in that chair again. And, thank you so much. You, in your profile picture, I was like, okay, he's military. Wouldn't that be crazy if he was willing, just like 3 or 4 days from now, to pop in? Thank you so much. It wasn't crazy. Thank you for your willingness and for putting a lot of things aside. Please let us get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, sure. Gosh. Well, first, I guess I would pivot back to JJ. Um, I'm also a caregiver. Have been. Um, my grandmother passed away a few years ago with vascular dementia. I was her power of attorney, grandson, gerontologist, all the above. And you're right. Your body keeps the score. Um, and actually, there's a book I'm starting to read about that, where the body keeps the score. A couple years later, turns around, my mother-in-law got diagnosed also, this time at 64.
Mhm.
Um, and we also have 5 kids at home. So at the time, we were trying to figure out how to modify the home to have my mother-in-law stay with us, while we had all these separate home health aides come in. And we ran into a lot of problems. People stopped showing up, people late, sitting on their
Mhm.
phone the whole time, stealing, you name it. Um, so, needless to say, unfortunately, we were overcome by events, and we, had to opt for memory care, but we gave it our best shot. And one of the things I did was try to use my life experiences to try to help others. So when my grandmother passed, in addition to my gerontology degree, I got a certificate in dementia. And then when my mother-in-law lived with us for a couple of years, then I got a certification in aging in place, and also another degree, certificate from USC. And I found myself the interim president of the National Aging in Place Council.
Nice.
So we
Nice.
have over 70 industries represented, from financial planning to consultants, occupational therapists, like gerontologists. I can say that for me myself at least. But you know, home is where people want to be,
Mhm.
and if we're able to help people, a lot of people don't even think to do it, but we are able to help people try to modify their home, plan financially for these.
Mhm.
And one thing I also want to add about NAIPC is we're expanding into aging and aging in place, not to just be the 65 and over curtain. It's multi generational. It's everybody's involved in some respects, and even considering the outside environment. I think a lot of folks tend to lack, this thing that I'm staring outside the window right now. That's part of my environment. That's part of my aging in place experience. So, the uniform you see is the United States Public Health Service. So we deploy for natural disasters, humanitarian crises, report to the Office of the Surgeon General, and also the Assistant Secretary for Health. And we are standing up the first aging and caregiving task force in the United States Public Health Service. I'm just thrilled to be able to wear so many hats and really just try to help connect people to resources. So uh,
Awesome.
that's
Awesome.
yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Did you say
Wow.
first? Did you say first
Yeah.
task force of its kind?
Yes. Well, at least the first task force in our service. Yes.
Mhm.
In
Wow.
your and your services
United States Public Health Service Commission Corps.
Wow.
So it's
commission.
about, I'd say at this time, probably 6,000 of us. So we kind of do things that we're out there, and sometimes people don't know, but uh, we definitely respond to public health emergencies, humanitarian crises, and it's an experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned a book. It was The Body Keeps Score.
Yeah. So I haven't read the book yet, but
Oh,
and like I do get, I guess you want to call it mental health coaching, whatever it is to stay sharp. But one of the books they recommended, I don't have the author handy, but it says the body keeps the score. And I know I have chronic areas in my body where I hold tension.
yeah.
I grind and clench my teeth. Uh,
Mhm.
I got a lot of ligament tenderness, tendon issues just for
Mhm.
being tight. And you're right. Like we hit that stress response, and the body's like, I only know how to be tight, or everyone has their kind of triggers. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I address mine so I can be the best multi-hat wearer I can.
Wow.
Excellent. Thank you so much for becoming so educated, not just, saying, well, I've lived through some caregiving. It's like, there's information about this. And Barbara Carnes, who educates people on end of life, what it is like to be at the bedside, what it is like to receive hospice into your home. She says that, quote or misquote, knowledge reduces fear. And it's kind of, I say that many people my age would rather just ignore any possible bumps as they continue to age and just wait until it's a good, big, juicy crisis. And then they'll get educated.
Yeah.
And nothing's happening right now. This is the perfect time to listen to people like Minnie and JJ and Israel and Raven and go, I did not know that existed. I wish I had heard of that. My best friend needed to, be aware of this. And I've got places that I can go, I can recommend to someone else when I feel like I'm hitting an aging crisis. I do not have to figure it out by myself. There's someone out there that's going, when it's this way, and someone's going, this is wonderful. You talked about body. I asked you again. And Raven, you are in maybe more body aware in a different realm, because I have had martial arts people on my show before that understand the mechanics, what the body can do, what it can't do. I had to learn about my own body so that, saying this as respectfully as anyone should, everyone, as a former hired caregiver, everyone deserves clean, comfortable, healthy, dignified skin. And I would not let a wet body hit a hard shower floor. And so I was trained at, how I need to be in stance and ready, and what not to do to my person to they end up with a shoulder out of place. It's like maybe they would have rather have landed hard than had that. So I just would love to know more from you, and I'm just going to show you this immediately.
Okay.
This was purchased for me, and there we go. Simply Stun, and where to use this. And I have had it for a long time. My hubby producer, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener, first set me up with pepper spray, and I practiced with it whenever I was walking with the dog and made sure my hand was ready. And I'd see another situation. I'd be like, am I ready? Am I ready? What am I going to do? What's my plan? And then he set me up with this, and I have not opened the box because I'm just like, what if I do it wrong? And I think I need you. So that's why you're here today, in case you're wondering.
Well, I always say, like, I'm going to touch bases on this, but I'm going to jump back to JJ and Israel and everyone, and then come back. So really quick, just anything that you get pertaining to safety is something that you need to continuously practice with. It's something as easy as a flashlight, to keys, to pepper spray, to tasers. All of those things it's like a toy. You want to take it home, you want to play with it, so you know how it's going to perform when you need it. is one of the biggest things I find, especially in a lot of my classes, and unfortunately it happens a lot with law enforcement, is some of the things that they carry, because they carry a lot of things on their belt, is some of those things they get kind of pushed to the side and pushed to the back because, it's there, I know I have it, but I'm not going to really have it, use it because I don't need it at this moment. And then 5 or 6 years down the road, they need to deploy their pepper spray, and they realize that it's the same can that they've been wearing since the academy, and it no longer works. So you want to continuously play with those things. You know, a can of pepper spray should last 6 months to a year. That's it. Then you should throw it away and you should get a new one, because you should be practicing with it so that you know how far it goes, what it's going to do when it deploys from that can, all of those different things. So if you're testing those things every day, that can is going to run out. So I always say get one can that you're going to practice with and test with, and then another can that you're going to carry. But always get the can that you're going to carry and deploy it so you see what it's going to do, and then carry it. Yeah, it's you know, because you know we've all bought things from stores and you get them home and they don't work. Same thing with those tools. They cannot work if you don't test them out and practice with them. So, but jumping back to the caregiver, because I'm a caregiver too. I have a daughter at home that is blind and deaf, and she's nonverbal, and she has a couple other things that are going on. So, you know, I totally understand about, you know, I like that you said the body never forgets. That is, it doesn't. I also know that, you know, as we go through life, my daughter picks up things, which is very odd because she doesn't verbally communicate. She doesn't see or hear. But over the time that we've had her, she's now 19 years old now. And she was told that she was not going to make it to 3 months. Well, she's 19 and she tears up everything. She's a typical teen. You know, she picks up and learns so many different things without having those senses. It is wild. And she just certain things and certain touches from certain people, she knows who that person is and what to expect from that person. It is, I can't even explain, you know, how she went from where she was to where she is now. It's just so much. So I just wanted to kind of add that in that part about caregiving, because at some point we're all going to be doing some degree of that with even friends or relatives or family or whatever, you know, at some point in our life, you know. So I commend everybody and the different steps that you guys have taken to move from where you are and to grow from that and learn from that. So outstanding. To get on the part about the body never forgets, believe me, when I was 30 years ago doing all the martial arts and the fighting and touring all over the world, I thought I was on top of the world. I now teach class and I don't do any of that stuff because the 6 or 7 weeks that it takes me to recuperate, but my mind is crazy because I mentally think that I'm still 18. I feel good. But the next day I wake up, my body says, yeah, you're 53. You know,
what style do you teach, Raven?
I teach Taekwondo, small circle jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, and freestyle kickboxing. So it's kind of like teach a little bit of the kicking and punching back away. So quite a few things. But I also do ground fighting and use of force, because everything that I do and what I do is I teach that different style of arts. So my newest thing that I've came with is I drifted from the traditional style of martial arts to more of a self-defense style, because, you know, no one's going to be walking out with a sword or a big staff or drop down some outrageous stance form or something to do into a street fight. It's really practical. So everything that I teach now is really practical, and you don't have to spend 30 years at home in the gym to learn it. It's so simple. You know, just an example of one of the things I teach is, have you ever had a child that you picked up and they're welling out, they're going all wild, and you're trying to carry that that child from one spot to another. It's very difficult, right? Because they're spazzing out and everything. So I teach that if someone goes to grab you like a bear hug or anything, I teach the people spaz out, because it's hard for that person to keep control of you because you're all over the place. So they're going to have to put you down to get a better hold. And once they put you back on the ground, that's the time that you're going to attack and do everything that you possibly can do. Bite, scratch, kick, claw, whatever you can do to get away. So basic technique. You don't need no training on that. Just if you don't know what that is, just come to my house. One of my grandkids do it all the time. So, but the biggest thing is, that I touch bases on my training is practice whatever you're going to do. If even little things, mentally go over it. If you're going to use any type of equipment, practice with those things, play with them. And like you were saying with the Christine, the taser, that is like the best self-correcting tool you can ever get. Because if you do something wrong, it will correct you to do it right the next time.
I completely agree with Ravan, and I'm relating it to surgical field. So I remember when during when I was in Johnson and Johnson, we used to train surgeon on certain new products, which is like capital equipment sometimes, or maybe devices. That time we used to do this tool testing before the surgery on our dry demo devices, so that if you are giving, if surgeon is using your device and if it doesn't work properly, it's a huge issue in operation theater.
Yeah,
Same way,
exactly.
I'm relating that any tool, whether it's a simple tool or if it's an advanced tool, is the best. The best thing is to do some testing before.
Exactly. Yeah.
You use it.
Especially my kids, they all carry pepper spray. They all carry, some of them carry tasers, different things. I tell them, practice it. It does no good in the bottom of your purse or in the back of the seat of the car. You get it, carry it, use it. And then that how it's going to react to you. And plus, you get used to that stress, because when you're using that thing, you get your stress builds up, everything builds up. So you need to be used to that feeling in your body, so that when it happens, you're used to it. It's not something that's really new. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Minnie, so sorry. It's like, there it is. I read your profile, but I didn't get, I just don't dive deep. I'm telling all the people that I invite onto this show, I'm just not going to research you ahead of time and get my questions all lined up and pretend like I don't know. I really don't know. I read your profile, and I'm just hoping that when you come on here, you stay somewhat on point, because I don't. And Minnie, you're saying training someone on equipment. You said Johnson and Johnson. Can you just tell me a little bit more about, what do you do? What is it that you know? What kind of training have you had? But I do, thank you. I will play with it and get used to the stress of using it. And I need some new pepper spray, Scott. I didn't know that they had an expiration.
I will tell you what that taser, the part that the sparks come out, you want to touch that. You don't want to touch that as much as, as least as possible, because that's the correcting part that you're going to run into.
Yes. And I bet it's not like it is on TV. I just saw someone use a taser on TV, and the person didn't react at all the first time. And then they went for the heart. And I'm just like, that's not what it says on the box. So thank you. When I got tased, I remember one thing, and it was one thing only: the word stop. That was it. That was the only thing I went through. Stop, stop, stop. So yeah, I've grabbed onto a electric fence that kept a horse in. And it was like, I was a kid, and I'm like, I've never forgotten that. It's like walking somewhere and going, huh, that might be electric. Boy, you don't you don't have to tell me when I'm like, I'm staying away.
Self-correcting
forever.
tools.
Ooh, Minnie, what?
Yeah, I
Have you
wanna.
traveled the world helping people to figure out how to make something work? What have you done?
So I want to share something in a like I don't want to share my professional journey much because this is a casual platform, but in one line I would like to say something. I'm a medtech professional with over 15 years of experience, wherein I always try to contribute to improve the patient's life, no matter at what role I am. And the second important thing which I kept for myself is mental health. And I realized that mental health issues are everywhere. Family, friends, even if you're a caregiver. I worked for helping surgeons to counsel patients who are suffering from cancer, lung cancer, ovarian cancer, and whatnot. It was a huge process of patient journey. So that's what my experience come from, that I realize that it's everywhere. It's not me that I'm heartbroken at 30 and landing up not married till 40 as a single woman. I faced the same anxiety and issues in my personal life when I felt that okay, it's broken. It was a small heart issue, like I was heartbroken. But when I see the cancer patient, their family, they have some other extreme end of and that emotions and that journey of their mental health getting deteriorated every day. My uncle died out of brain cancer, and that time and he was just, I was very young. I was maybe just 18 and he was about to be 40 or something. And he died out of brain cancer, and and it was just a migraine symptom, and we got to know that just 3 months left because grade 4. So he just passed away in some time. And I was very young, and I realized that okay, it's like too much. And I saw my family trauma that time, and I really seen those stages, and that's why I started relating to this. I saw mental health of his wife, and and all family people were like feeling devastated. And as I grew up, same trauma came to my life in terms of maybe emotions. If you see some other person, maybe they're facing in their workplace. If you see like this Gen Z, which is completely robotic, they're facing it every day because they are having fear of missing out. So the moral of the story is, if your stress level at your body is like very high, and you are trying to reduce it through physical exercise, and it's not reducing, then you need to think what's next. And what's next is your spiritual and soul health, and the thought of positivity in your mind, which we call as positive intelligence. So the in my future, I really want to do something related to blend of that, free of cost, for the non-profit thing, for the people in the community, because I have some amazing ideas and I would like to do it for non-profit. Though I saw many people telling me, Mini, if you have idea, why non-profit? Because you cannot sell emotions, you cannot relate yourself if you're talking about mental health. So being like in my profession, I want to become a healthcare marketer. That's a different deal. But my like the lifelong objective is about mental health, and that's why I'm so thankful to Christine, because being a newcomer here, adjusting towards the things, learning. Though I am a professional, but when you land to a country, it's a huge opportunity, and I need to have that adaptation mindset. And I feel that even, this platform, at least whosoever is hearing, like there are people, and it's not about, just one community, whole world. I personally don't believe in religion. I believe in, you know, one energy, and all human beings, we go through the same emotions. So it's very important to take care of our emotions right now. Like especially for Gen Z, I have a message. Like we millennials, we know we are like letter people. We know how to love. At least our generation and previous generation, they know how to love, how to give. But for Gen Zs, they are so like they became robotic. No matter what, all personal touch has gone. AI took over everything. But I can say one thing: AI cannot took over, emotions ever, because especially in healthcare and healing, there is a good side of it, but I feel that industries should think of about that, not removing personal touch at all in caregiving or in healthcare industry. That's what all I have to say about it. And here I learned a lot. I mean, being like, do you all are doing so much about it. I'm just new. I would like to, if I'll get an opportunity, I'll for sure do something here.
Outstanding. Personal
Yes.
touch, Minnie, is really important because sometimes that's all that person needs is the personal
Yeah,
touch
yeah.
that gets
And
them.
I landed alone in Canada. And I know that, like I'm a single woman, but my family is in India, and that too a joint family.
Mhm,
So I realized in past 1 year, I realized that how many times I have self-motivated myself,
mhm,
how many times I was feeling shattered, and I thought that no,
mhm,
how many times, and I'm thankful to some of the nice people like whom I met in Canada. Their mentor, I would like to mention his name even. His name is Joey, and he introduced me to the platform, and a thing about like, Minnie, he always motivated me like, what is positive intelligence? Use your positive side. Write everywhere that you are beautiful, you are great. And it really worked.
mhm,
I was knowing about these things previously also, but I practically tried that in my low moments when I write good about myself,
mhm.
that no, I'm strong, I can handle it, I will do my best, I vision positive things. So, how many times your brain is thinking positive every day is very important, and that is the crux. If my mind is thinking 90% of negative thought every day and less positive,
Mhm,
then for sure you need to, those people are in anxiety actually.
mhm.
If you are 60 to 75% you are okay, you are thinking positive, that means you are on right track. So if negative thought comes in, just try to kill that up. I kill it. If I if I think something, oh, what will happen? No, especially in collective societies like India, people talk about, oh, what if you not get married and something goes wrong? Then I think that so what? In Canada, when I see single women, like strong women, I met one woman. She's 90-year-old, single, and she is doing everything. So then why not? If if like if not a good marriage, then it's okay. Need
Yeah.
not to think about so much. So like that's why
Mhm.
feel positive, feel happy, and blessings from God, blessings from positive energy. That's it.
Yeah. Excellent. Mhm,
Well, you've enriched me today. I
mhm,
mean, we met in a breakout room that was like 4 minutes long.
mhm,
Yeah, yeah.
So now I get, this time with each one of you. Oh my goodness. JJ, throughout all this, are
mhm,
you what's been bouncing around in your mind, or do you have an announcement about the future of Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver? Anything? You're smiling really big, so I just figure you have something
You know,
wonderful to say.
I'm always like up to something, and I listen to everyone, and it's always so interesting, at least for me, to listen to the kindness of others. I listen to like Israel, I listen to Raven, I listen to Minnie, and the things that you've done in your life,
mhm,
who you are now, and
mhm.
um, also how many of us are caregivers, and you never know that. Like I could look at your, I could look at your LinkedIn profile, and you would never know that. And if you don't know our story, Natalie and I got into caregiving totally by default. I mean, it's a hot mess, and we laugh about it because Lord help us is all I can say. But you have to laugh, and that's what helps us get through. But because of what we do, we started another company called Care Forward, and it's a new endeavor that we are like so excited about and so blessed for. It's a technology platform, and the goal is to connect people in need with volunteered, and the volunteers offer their time, talent, or resources. And there's so many things like Israel, when you were talking about people that didn't show up to help your mother-in-law. I hear, Raven, if there's something that you might, a little bit of help, like let's say you and your wife needed a night out and you couldn't get someone to come in and help. If we had someone, many you knew that they were isolated in their home and they couldn't get out because of that. They couldn't get out because they didn't have a ramp. That's what Care Forward does. And it was all because of all the people we saw giving care, and they're either tired or the resources aren't consolidated. And I hear each of you, and it's like, you're so kind. And I think when you hear somebody in need like that, even though you're working hard, I heard Israel say 5 kids. I was like, holy smoke. Oh my gosh. But I hear kindness everywhere I go. And it's just about, we talk about, the millennials and that crowd. And, but it's there, and it's about connection. And I think that's why we started Care Forward, is because people like us, and so many of us, regardless of age, regardless of what we have on our schedules, we just want to pass that kindness around. It's not about social media. It's about interacting with people face to face and just making a difference. And so that's the next thing Natalie and I have on our plate is, well, we want to change the world. And, it's just one individual at a time. It's kind of our goal.
Exactly.
But it's just little acts of kindness. And that's kind of where the idea came from. But as I listen to each of you, I'm like, you're a Care Forward. You're a person that would help me in Care Forward. And it's everybody. And that's kind of the message that we're spreading now. Once we get through Heroes tonight, we get through this campaign, then there's something else on the horizon, because I think all of us in everything we do, I hear about safety. I hear about, what Israel's doing. I hear many about the positive attitude. It's just about what you share with the world. That act of kindness, that's how we change things. And that's how we caregivers and just, the random people that you touch that you have no idea what they're going through.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would say, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, as unique as we all are today, is for me the same difficulty that someone would have finding help. It's so many silos, like, mental health, personal protection, preparedness, caregiving, aging in place, all the things you find yourself suddenly thrust into. And you go online, you try to find stuff. It's just too hard. And then one thing that excites me is when I get on LinkedIn, I get to see people like you guys, but then I also get frustrated wondering, how can I work with everybody? How can this community come together? And it's almost paralyzing. I know it's better to start somewhere, but if I feel like that sometimes, I wonder how people like us who are or have been caregivers kind of feel like when you first started, you were just out there and trying to, so, I didn't have a LinkedIn presence until about 2 years ago. And I'm finding, like you said, JJ, there's so many caring people out there. And I just want to find a way to work with people and get people some help, and try to not get overwhelmed by how much need there is out there.
Yeah. Most definitely. When I first started doing my training, I was in the when I first initially got into it, I was in it. I'm gonna sell all this stuff, and everyone's gonna be safe, and everybody's gonna be happy, and the whole world's gonna be moving on to the next place. And I realized that it doesn't always work that way. I have a sensor light in here, so I'm behind all these monitors, so it can't see me moving. So I designed my training program that I do. It's actually free. I don't charge for the program. I just charge for the material to complete the program, because I'm more focused on the people getting the information and being able to use the information and then you have that resource to go back in that my training books to look at the different things and use that information. On top of that, I decided to write a book. So I'm in the that phase of writing a book. So I'm back and forth with the publisher to get everything kind of finalized. You'll be seeing you probably seen some announcements on my LinkedIn that I've been putting out there. So it's called Empowering Safety, Mastering Security, and Leadership. So it touches bases on everything, but not enough on everything, because the book would be 1 billion pages long if I could touch base on everything. But I talk about safety in the workplace. I talk about safety when you're traveling. I talk about safety when you're going just to the ATM or to the supermarket. I talk about safety in your vehicle, parking your vehicle, in your house. I talk about camera placement. I talk about all these different things in my book. Because I really want to get that. How do I get, I'm like you, Israel, how do I get connected to people to help as many people as possible? So, I can keep writing 100,000 training books, because every time I talk to somebody, I go, oh, I need to write a training book for that. Or I figured to write this book and then push this book out so people can get a little bit closer and a little bit faster to getting access to this information. JJ and Israel, I too have that issue because I have my daughter at home and she has some other things that require medical, so I can't just take her to the daycare. The people at the daycare have to be able to do some of the things that she needs to have done in the medical avenue. So many touch bases on a little bit of what you're doing too. So everything that we're talking about right now, I understand that frustration because I have that same thing. So how do you get connected to all these different resources? And it's difficult because in the state that we live in, they don't have any type of child care that my daughter needs.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we rely on my family. So my family we have to negotiate all these different things to kind of get things set up so that we can go on trips or vacation or whatever that things that, my daughter has been to Hawaii probably more than any of my kids, but she can't stand the heat. So she doesn't go there. So taking her to Hawaii, we realized that she doesn't sweat. So she doesn't have a way to cool her body. So she has a fit. So now we can't take her to there. So we have to take her, my house is climate controlled. Everything has to be in working order, So I completely understand the frustration. What was that?
I just want to say something about it. Like, that's what day before, and I'm relating too much to this conversation today because 2 days before I was just thinking about not about only patient journey, what about all healthcare system? Are we actually evolving? And I'm not talking about one country, I'm talking about worldwide. I personally, my research, I do a lot of research also because I'm planning to do something related to healthcare as well. So I feel that starting point when person is trying to search about something and by getting the end product or maybe the end service, I feel there are a lot of challenges in caregiving also, child health and safety also, and also in healthcare system. And actually the organization should really must really work for the pathways, like how to ease that channel, because no matter if it's a developing country or developed country, but if we are landing up to having a huge queues in front like and not finding a ways to get into the proper treatment appointments, and then the services like caregiving services for child or something, I think we need to think about it. And I personally feel that healthcare segment is not being given much attention past many years. I'm not again quoting any one country, across the world people are more keen about AI advancement, digital marketing, oh my god, rosy things. But what about this basic segment wherein it's the question of life and happiness? And I will definitely like to do something, and I think that regulatory and government and authorities should think about it And or even private organizations should include something in CSR, corporate social responsibility. Why not you pick just one segment and support? It's not about just profitability, though there are many organizations who are doing it, like cancer and other treatment. But
Yeah.
I don't think that all private organizations are doing it in a very, justifiable manner. Otherwise, we will not need only government support. There will be a private support for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very difficult, and I'm really sometimes I get shocked. And when I landed in Canada, my myths were broken. I was thinking that okay, in India we face some challenge, but here also we face some challenges. And I met a couple, 85-year-old. I went for my own treatment. They were standing in a queue for 12 hours. They were sitting since night, and they, in spite their number, they couldn't got an appointment. Like it's like a they're waiting and waiting. Whole night they waited. So, and next day morning I was there for treatment because I got appointment from a long period of time, like maybe a month or so. I got that appointment. So that day I actually came out of the clinic crying because I was not crying for myself. I was crying for both of them because they were just 85 and that person shared with me. So I'm not talking about country perspective. I'm talking about lot to be done in healthcare, and people need to raise their voice up.
Yeah.
And here I am saying, we've run out of time.
Oh,
And we have not solved these problems. I say it that way because it's kind of what happens on these shows. JJ can relate, and in books, Raven's headed for, where you're just like, and what do we do? And me too, Minnie. I have these big plans. And Israel, you all need to get on to something else. And I'm really sad that we're at that stopping point. I do have the occasional reunion, and I love to hear what happened, what has happened. What have you done next? Where did you see the change? And I do have some goals before my 65th in February. And I'm doing the same. It's like I didn't want the information to die just because I stopped being a hired caregiver, because I had been privileged to be around over 90 different people in their own home. Different. It's just different than hallways. And it's like, what can I do with this? And what can I find? And and I'm like, this isn't enough. It isn't enough that we just have these conversations. There needs to be this. And I'm like, so we will get together again, find out how Raven's doing on his book. So tasking you there. Israel, we'll find out if you are continuing to be an interim president, or if they've just said, just put him in. Thank you so much to each of you who have run toward crisis, toward a person in need, and said, okay, this has got to go farther. I want to work. I want to have a nonprofit. I want to solve people's problems, bring people in, make sure people have adequate information, know where to find more, but putting it there for free. Thank you so much, everyone, on this Remembrance Day Canada, on this Veterans Day for the U.S. Oh my goodness. We're like out of here. Like he's going to put the banner across, and we're just going to be saying goodbye, and we haven't even finished our sentences. So go ahead, honey. Just close the curtain on us, and there you go. There we go. Very happy at our football game, and I'm